Okay, so last year I read somewhere in the ballpark of like 102 or 103 books. And this is the first time that I've ever read this many books in a year. And I'm never going to do that again. That was one of the most miserable things that I forced myself to do. And this year, I'm not about that. I don't think I've ever enjoyed reading less. And I just kind of wanted to share my feelings here and kind of just talk about why I set that goal, I guess, and what was so annoying to me about it. And what, yeah, like just why I felt the need to put myself through that, really. So long story, it was miserable. Short story, there are ways that everybody can read a triple digit amount of books in a year. You don't really have to try that hard, but it can happen. So I started reading, I set my goal pretty early on in the year, in like the January-ish area. And I get most of my recommendations for books from other fellow YouTubers. Some come from Reddit, some come from literary sources. But for the most part, I think the word of mouth through YouTube is what really guides my taste in books. And this can be problematic. I get that because all of a sudden you're only reading the popularist book, right? Like whatever that has come out that has caught everybody in a tizzle. Very similar to the book talk book trends. But what I started noticing early on in the year was that a lot of my booktubers that I was following were setting goals, and these goals were not how do I say it, qualitative goals. They were all very much quantitative goals, like what number of books that you're going to read. And it should have dawned on me at that time, but it didn't. But like it should have really, like there should have been an alarm bell that went off that was like, why does it matter how many books you read, right? Like just because someone reads 5 books a year or like 5 books in a month or whatever metric you want to put to it, but they remember everything from it and they're a new person now just by reading this amount of books, versus someone who reads over 100 or 200 books in a year, but they don't remember anything or don't apply anything that they learned from the books to their real lives. So I feel like my brain just short-circuited a little bit there. It's going to happen a lot during this video. So yeah, buckle in, guys. I was a little annoyed at the time. No, I wasn't. I'm annoyed now. Now that I'm making this video that I never thought that I would be making. But at the time, the whole, like the craze was like, oh, what number are you setting? And social media kind of like really pushes you to do this. Like there's this like weird hidden pressure. And largely it comes from social media, whether it be Goodreads, whether it be Fable, whether it be whatever else, other platforms that are out there. But they expect you to set a goal of the number of books that you're going to read. And everyone in the world is very fixated on this like quantitative number. And the thing is like, they're like all resolutions that you make in the beginning of the year. Like you take an educated guess with the data points available to you, and you decide that, hey, maybe this year I'm going to push myself a little bit. I decided to push myself a lot a bit and ended up with wanting to, read 100 books a year in this year. I saw a lot of booktubers had done it. And I was like, you know what? If they can do it, why not me? And so I set this goal. And I set it. And the thing is like, not only is this hard, okay? So let's break down like what 100 books a year looks like. You have to read somewhere in the ballpark of 8 to 10 books a month for you to get to 100, which is a lot. So that like kind of boils down to anywhere between 2 to 3 books a week. And any book that I would pick up was anywhere between 300 pages to 500 pages. Now, this is the part where you'll see that I started to quote unquote cheat. Now, I'm not gonna lie, like I didn't feel good about doing it, but I did. So shorter books, short stories would count as books on these platforms. So I started reading much shorter books, i.e., like Piranesi, that comes in somewhere in the 200 ballpark. I Who Have Never Known Men, I think, is 100 something. Like it's very close to almost 200 pages. There's many others like this that count. Murderbot series as well, actually. I'm not saying that I didn't enjoy myself reading shorter books, and I also think that it definitely pushed me to think creatively to fill this goal, to satisfy this goal, right? But I I don't know if I would not have. Wait, that was a terrible sentence. I don't know if had this goal not been, in play, would I have picked up these shorter books? Like somewhere around, like, I want to say like halfway through the year, it kind of started becoming all about how many pages were in each book, because I knew I had to hit a certain number every month for me to make it to my goal. And it was frustrating because I would specifically put off reading certain books that I was super excited about. So, for example, I like triangulated, okay, onto 11/22/63. If you haven't watched that video of mine, please go watch it. It's a good time. It was my first Stephen King book, and this book, man, let me tell you, it is a honker of a book, okay? It comes in at like 900 some pages, all right? Don't quote me on that. It might be like 875 or something. But the point is that like during the second half of the year, there was no way that I could accommodate a behemoth book like 11/22/63. So I left it for this year, and I hated it. I hated myself for doing that. And understand that, like, I'm not saying that there was a lot of pressure, but like, my friends recommended this book. Most of YouTube recommended it. My local bookstore just happened to have a copy of this book that was just pristine and lovely. And I picked it up even because I was like, well, I'm going to read this book. I might as well have it. And then I, like, upon looking at the size of it, which has never once, like, stopped me in the past, that was the decision point that broke me. And I had to put it off till next year. And I'm not proud of it that, like, I was looking at the length of the books towards the end there. And ultimately, like, for me to get to 100, I had to kind of cut corners somewhere, especially because, and when setting goals, I should have thought about this. A lot of the YouTubers that I was comparing myself to, or whatever, thing that I was trying to prove, I had to keep, like, I'm not a YouTuber. I'm not a booktuber. So, like, I don't do that as my sole way of making a living, right? Like, I have a day job. My job doesn't rely, my income does not rely solely on my ability to read books, which I wish that sounds like a really good time, honestly. Like, I love the people, and I congratulate them wholeheartedly that are able to read for a living. That sounds lovely. It also sounds terrifying because it means that you have to be in this higher echelon of reading. Like, if you, God forbid, slow down and immerse yourself in a book for too long, like you will be left in the dust by all the other competitors that you have. So that terrifies me, right? Wow, we really got off on like a turn, on like a tangent here, but I wanted to really kind of drive this point home that not only was I picking up shorter books, it was getting to an unhealthy point where I would just listen, or like even like I would pick up a lot more audiobooks as well, because you can get through audiobooks much faster than actually physically reading the book. But that comes with a downside. Now, I'm not over here trying to be a purist or something. No. I read ubiquitously. I read in audiobooks, I read in ebooks, I read in physical copies. I read them all, okay? Everywhere, all the time. However I could imbibe this material, it was getting into me. But I started choosing books solely based on their length. And I really want to drive this point home because I don't think a lot of people understand what that means. And what it meant was that I wasn't even looking at the synopses. I wasn't even reading whether I would like the book. I wasn't looking at the cover. I wasn't talking to my friends about these books. Like, I was going to the bookstore or my library or Goodreads or Fable, wherever it is that I was looking at, and I would zero in on how long the book was. And if it met my criteria of just short enough that I could squeeze it in, then yes, then I was going to read it. So not only did this make for a unsatisfying reading, but it also kind of really ate into how I chose books to read. And I feel like that's something that's extremely overlooked in our hobby. More on that in a different video, I think. But yes, so I got to a point where I was just really bummed towards the end of the year when I did reach my goal of a triple digit number of books. I didn't feel good about it, largely because I didn't have a spectacular reading year. My reading year was like, it had a bunch of 2-star ratings. It had a bunch of 3-star ratings. I'm not saying that every book out there is going to be a 5-star, but I do want to choose better. So this brings us to what I'm doing this year. This year, I have really no goal set, but before all those social media algorithms that really push you into setting them, I have set a very achievable goal of 50 books in the year. Okay, that basically what that says is that you're reading one book every week, except for maybe Christmas week and your birthday week. So you get 2-week holiday, and you are going to be completing one book a week ish. And I know that I'm a voracious reader, that I can, like, this goal is not going to eat into my satisfaction of what books I choose. Now, that being said, I'm also going to remove the pressure of needing to finish each book, because that was there because when you're racing towards this goal of getting to 100 or whatever amount of books that you want to get to, you don't want to not finish a book that you've already started. Like that DNFing culture, you don't want to be a part of that, because there's a sunk cost to any book that you have started. So the moment you read a page, that's one less page that you have to read to achieve your goal. So each word starts to have a weight to it, right? So that pressure, I'm removing it. I don't want any part of that. So this year, I'm going to read what my heart desires. If the book is not capturing me after an adequate amount of time, which honestly, to be decided, each book will tell me what the adequate amount of time is. But yes, I'm expecting to drop any book that is not giving me sheer joy. I'm going to marry Marie Kondo. That's it. That's who I was going for, not Mary. I'm so sorry. Marie Kondo, this hobby. I'm also going to put quite the emphasis on what books I'm choosing to read. And I'm going to choose based on my excitement for them. Whether it be I listen to a passionate YouTuber talk about it, my friends recommended it, my book club is reading it, my bookstore lady is all about this book. Whatever it is, however it is that I'm choosing this book, it is not going to be based on page length. It is going to be based on whether I'm excited about it. All right. Yeah. I'm really excited about this. And I'm going to rediscover the joy of reading slower. All right. I genuinely hope that this modest goal of like 50 books that I've set for myself, if I don't reach it, oh my God, that means that I'm having already a great reading year, right? Like that means I'm taking my time through my books. I'm enjoying it that much more. And I am choosing the right books for myself. So yes, it's going to be almost like an anti-goal, basically. Now, as a little disclaimer, I do want to put out there, this entire video by no means was at all like if anything, I don't want any of you guys out there to fall into this pressure of quantitatively assessing your reading years or your reading or your hobby, right? Like I want you guys to kind of think beyond the confines of how, like this number of like books that you read in a year. And whether that number is 5 books or 3 books or 2 books or 20 books, whatever it is, be proud of it, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many you read, but that you read. It doesn't matter how many you read, except unless like you're not having fun reading. So find good books that you're excited about. And really, that's my PSA, guys. Thank you for listening. Yeah, I hope this resonates. I hope I help some people out there. I just wanted to get that off my chest. Yeah. Good night.